Bonnie's toy. You are going to help create happy memories that will last for the rest of her life.
Huh? John, Paul, George and Ringo, the Beatles.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for our weekly film show with our critic, Lisa Nesselson. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Eve.
Now, on this show in 2010, you said that Toy Story 3 was your favourite film of the year, which is quite a big deal. Is Toy Story 4 likely to earn the same spot?
No, but it's still a very entertaining animated feature and adventure. Although my favorite characters from the first three, guess which ones those were, don't have much to do this time. Toy Story is based on a concept I know is widespread, but that I don't fully understand, namely that you outgrow your childhood toys and either forget they exist or give them away. So Andy, the boy that Woody and Buzz and company serve, went off to college in the previous installment and gave his toys to a little girl named Bonnie. I took some of my toys to college with me, and that's why today they're qualified to expound on the intersectionality of gender as applied to button eyes. Some of them even still have college debt, 40 years later. Anyway, the essential insight of Toy Story when it burst on the scene in 1995 is that when a human looks at a toy, it goes inert, plays dead. But when we're not looking, the toys come to life and have all sorts of adventures. They not only can talk, they talk to each other. Woody, the cowboy sheriff, has his conversation voice, his ring pull voice with set phrases, and also what he calls an inner voice, where his sense of duty and loyalty reside, and that's what gets us emotionally involved.
OK, well, let's take a look at Toy Story 4 and Bonnie's new friend, Forky, who she made at school.
My name is Gabby, and this is my very good friend, Vincent.
Oh, Woody, pleasure to meet you.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Woody. And you are...
This is Forky.
I'm Trash.
Our kid made him.
Kid? Toys around here don't have kids. Are you two lost?
Lost? No, but we are looking for a lost toy. She's a figurine, used to be in that lamp in the window. Name's Bo Peep.
Bo Peep? Oh, yes, I know Bo.
You do?
Hop on in. We'll take you to her.
Oh, well, you don't have to do that. Well, okay.
Vincent, be careful with our new friends.
So, Lisa, why aren't you completely thrilled with this instalment?
Well, the animation is spectacular, but I found there was too much attention paid to human characters.
Oh,
I'm
no.
for the inanimate ones. The female toys are sort of too pumped up, more assertive than anybody, male or female, really needs to be. There's some overcompensating going on. I think we're going to see more of that. I like Bo Peep's gung-ho personality, but I much prefer her sheep. Billy, Goat, and Gruff, a trio she calls her girls, and whose design is sublime. There's a very good joke about GPS guidance systems. There's an interesting allusion to organ donations among toys. Some of the wonderful impact of talking toys is diminished, I think, by the fact that nowadays adults really are talking to their toys, as in, Alexa, play Randy Newman's score to Toy Story. And Alexa replies, certainly, did you want Toy Story 1, 2, 3, or 4? Now, Bonnie's just a little girl going off to kindergarten, but her parents strike me as way too understanding. Most of her dialogue consists of, where's Forky? I can't find Forky. And I think that non-animated parents would eventually say, would you please keep track of your damn plastic utensil with the face?
Now, Forky thinks of himself as belonging in the trash. Is there a message there?
I'm sure there is, but I'm not sure quite what it is exactly. Forky longs for the garbage can. He describes trash as a cozy, womb-like, ideal environment that Forky keeps throwing himself away until Woody convinces him that he's a toy, and toys have a noble mission to comfort their assigned kid is more than a bit unsettling. I know kids didn't want to eat pork after seeing the brilliant talking pig masterpiece Babe, and I wonder how kids will feel about single-use plastics after this.
OK, well, that's Toy Story 4. Now to a film with a wonderful premise. The director behind Trainspotting and Slumdog Millionaire, Danny Boyle, has teamed up with the writer of Four Weddings and a Funeral and Richard Curtis to make a musical fantasy about a world without the Beatles. Now, what did you make of Yesterday?
How did it turn out? Well, how should I put it? Fun to see, full of gently spun profundity. If you like the Beatles, song by song, with Yesterday, You can't go wrong. Jack Malek, a struggling singer-songwriter in a British port town, works as a stock boy in a discount warehouse and plays the gigs his best friend and manager, Ellie, manages to get him when she's not busy working as a school teacher. They've known each other for ages, and we can see that they really should embark on a romance. Coinciding with Jack being knocked off his bicycle, there's a glitch in the fabric of the universe, and the lights go out worldwide for 12 seconds. Now, unless you're on life support, what difference could a measly 12 seconds make, right? Well, it turns out that the collective planetary memory of John, Paul, George, and Ringo has been wiped clean. The Beatles never existed. Beatlemania never happened. Jack, however, remembers most of their repertoire. Without setting out to, he ends up passing off their songs as his own compositions. When Ed Sheeran, playing himself rather well, happens to hear Jack on a local TV show, he goes from friendly failure to boy wonder with an international following. But fame and happiness don't necessarily go together.
A very lovely film. Here's Jack playing his guitar soon after he gets out of hospital.
Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday.
When did you write that?
I didn't write it, Paul McCartney wrote it, the Beatles.
Who? Now, I did really enjoy the music in this film, obviously. There was a very similar story actually made here in France in 2006, wasn't there?
That's right. A very good bittersweet French comedy called Jean-Philippe has a remarkably similar premise. Fabrice Lucchini plays a massive, massive fan of Johnny Hallyday, the French singer whose death about a year ago resulted in weeks of public mourning, such as I have never seen. Halliday's real name was Jean-Philippe Smet, and Lucchini's character has an accident and wakes up in a world where nobody has ever heard of Johnny Hallyday. Now, Hallyday has fans all over the world, but it's hard to be more ubiquitously famous than the Beatles.
Okay, well, I actually got to interview the director Danny Boyle, who made Yesterday, who believes that the Beatles may have averted a third world war. Let's take a listen.
If they didn't exist and if nobody else existed like them, like the Rolling Stones, which do in our story, but then the world would be a very different place. We'd probably be at war with each other in Europe because we did that for 50 years in the first half of the century. And then these four guys from Liverpool came along and it changed the whole world.
And the filmmakers actually paid for the rights to use 17 songs. I can't imagine how much that cost.
I've heard the figure of $10 million bandied about, and boy, are those songs good, as performed by Hamish Patel, who we just saw. Kate McKinnon, a brilliantly fearless troupe member of the TV show Saturday Night Live, is perfect as a record company executive. I'd say from hell, but it's actually far worse than that.
Well, starting this week, filmgoers in France can see restored prints of the early work of the writer-director Jim Jarmusch. Now, he's somebody the French have always followed closely, isn't he? His zombie movie, The Dead Don't Die, opened the Cannes Film Festival this year.
Yes, absolutely. Jarmusch is the quintessential American independent filmmaker, and with his handsome shock of prematurely gray hair, he's always looked the part of a cool dude who knows other cool people and makes movies when he's not hanging out with his cool musician friends. French audiences have been faithful to him for 4 decades. His films have featured often in competition in the Cannes Film Festival. This retrospective offers restored prints of his first 6 films, so not my 2 favorites, the just about perfect Patterson with Adam Driver and Golshifteh Farahani, and the transatlantic vampire tale Only Lovers Left Alive with Tilda Swinton, Tom Hiddleston, and the late John Hurt as very disciplined vampires torn between the old world and, of all places, Detroit.
So tell us about some of the films that are being screened.
Well, of his first 6 films, it can be said that Permanent Vacation is a visual time capsule shot on the long since gentrified streets of the then truly scruffy Lower East Sides of New York. Stranger Than Paradise from 1984 is also a quirky and leisurely product of its time. Although it's incredibly slight, I quite like Down by Law, which introduced a lot of people outside of Italy to the manic Roberto Benigni in 1986. Mystery Train from 1989, set in Memphis, Tennessee, looks at America via the setting of a sleazy motel, including through the eyes of 2 deadpan Japanese tourists. It also features Screamin' Jay Hawkins, who you may know as the well-named wild man who's saying, "I I Put a Spell on You, which I think qualifies as a song that once you hear it, you never ever forget, which is a very neat trick. Night on Earth, however, is definitely my favorite film in this batch. It's set simultaneously in 5 different cities, Los Angeles, New York, Paris, Rome, and Helsinki, and is made up of 5 different stories that take place in taxicabs. Features a very young Winona Ryder, a very classy Jenna Rollins, Isaac de Bancolet and Beatrice Dahl represent France, and the irrepressible Roberto Benigni again. For reasons that are unclear to me, most people like Jarmusch's Dead Man, starring Johnny Depp and a lot of other talented people with interesting faces. I haven't seen it since it premiered in Cannes in 1996, but I found it beautifully photographed and just plain annoying. Jarmusch has always been hit or miss, but he definitely has an impressive body of work, and when he makes a good movie, it's really good.
Okay. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to end with something about as far as one can get from the sensibilities of Jim Jarmusch. Out in France this week is Marvel's latest live-action instalment, Spider-Man Far From Home. We're going to leave you with the webbed crusader on a summer school trip in Europe, described as a light-hearted action rom-com. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
You're right, we may not be ready, but this is my responsibility. Saving the world requires sacrifice. Sometimes people die.
Oh my God. I just always feel like I'm putting my friends in danger. The world needs the next Iron Man.
You going to step up or not?